Podcast. Presented by XFL2K.com. With your host, Tron Hawkins.
Welcome to This is the XFL Podcast. I'm your host, Tron Hawkins. I just got back from vacation a couple of days ago, so I figured I'd make this podcast. It's about the first 4 summer showcases. I grouped them together. The first part of the show will be about the Texas ones. I'm just going to lump them together. The New York and then DC ones. Some interesting names on here. Some familiar names. So that's kind of what I'm going over. Just a little hit. Just hitting a couple players. Actually more than a couple. There's a good bit of players on here. But I'm not going to go in full detail about them or anything like that. First guy I'm going to talk about is Landry Jones. To me, he's the biggest name on the list. He's kind of I think he's going to be kind of like Maddox was in the first XFL. I think this guy has all the tools in the world to be a MVP in this league, especially the first season. And plus, he's known for being under Bob Stoops. Landry Jones was the backup of the Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford's last year in Oklahoma. Surprisingly, Bradford got hurt. Landry stepped in, and then he was quarterback there in 09, 10, 11, and 12. He had his ups and downs. But they always finish, double-digit wins, like always. He also broke their 8-year BCS bowl game losing streak against Connecticut in 2010. But yeah, he looked good against good opponents like Tulsa and Florida State in 2011. But then lost teams like Texas Tech, and then after A&M, lost to Baylor, Oklahoma State. So when he played, pretty good teams, he kind of went down a little bit. But they beat the Iowa Hawkeyes in a bowl game that year. But they always was winning Big 12 championships under him, or at least a share of it. He was a good player in college. In college, he completed 1,388 of his 2,183 passes for 16,646 yards, 123 touchdowns, 52 picks. Yeah, he was good, and he was drafted to be the long-term backup to Ben Roethlisberger and maybe even supplant him. He did not. Jones made his debut in the NFL, replacing injured Michael Vick. Helped them come back and beat the Cardinals that year in 2015. But he only started 5 games in the NFL, completing 108 of 169 passes for 8 touchdowns, 7 picks. So even in the NFL, though, he never got really a chance. He was even in camp with the Oakland Raiders this year, just trying to get Antonio Brown acclimated with everything since he used to throw to him at Pittsburgh. But nothing major. That's why Landry Jones was in the showcase. I think he is a perfect player for this league. I think he's somebody that we thought about, especially when I thought about him when Bob Stoops got hired for Dallas. So I think he's a good quarterback for this league. And like I said, I think he has what it takes to be the MVP of the league come 2020. The next guy I'm talking about is somebody with some character issue, and that's Trayvon Boykin. Great college career at TCU. He threw for 10,000 yards, 86 touchdowns, 37 picks, and he was a stud for TCU. He finished 4th in Heisman voting in 2014. He got the Frogs at number 3 in the rankings and was 12-1. They beat Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl, 42-3. That TCU team was supposed to be the team that got screwed out of the first college football playoff. With Oklahoma or Ohio State, but they went on to destroy Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl. He was selected offensive MVP of that game. His problem was off the field, though. He got arrested for DUI, stuff like that in college. Here's a backup for Russell Wilson, that's supposed to be in Seattle, but he got cut, signed to the practice squad, and then on March 27, 2018, he got released in a wake of domestic assault allegations. Prior to the 2016 Alamo Bowl, he was arrested for a bar fight. 2017, he arrested, possession of marijuana, public intoxication. 2017, he arrested for, possible violation of his probation. And then in 2018, a report was made that he broke his girlfriend's jaw in an altercation the previous week. That was that domestic violence. So he has a history, but we know some of these guys are going to get a second chance in the XFL. So I don't mind it. I know it's not the greatest looking in the world for the league, but everybody deserves a second chance. There's going to be a second chance league. Like I said, they worked them out. A lot of these guys, I think, has already made the league. They're going to be in the draft. Why not take a flyer on a guy like Trayvon Boykin if you miss out on Landry Jones? I think Landry Jones might be the first pick in the draft. We don't know who the other quarterbacks are yet. I wouldn't mind. Boykin could be a kind of like late stab for a team, and he's got the skill set to succeed in this league. I think, like I said, he's just trying to get a second chance in a league. He might not be the NFL, but, if he's done his time and he's gotten better over the last year and a half, going into 2 years of the league, why not take a chance on a kid that's still fairly young? The next guy is a defensive player. That's Coney Ely. He played at the University of Missouri. He started 10 games for the Tigers in 2012, recording 37 tackles, 10 sacks, 2.5 for loss. As a sophomore the year before the 2014 draft, he was given a third-round grade by the NFL Draft Advisory Board. Following his breakout junior campaign, Ely was projected a first-round pick by numerous outlets, including Panthers general manager Dave Gettleman, with some projecting him as top 10 selection. But he ended up going second round to the Panthers. And I feel like with the Panthers, he never really got a chance to be great. But in Super Bowl 50 against the Broncos, Ely tied the Super Bowl record and set the Panthers' postseason record with 3 sacks, composite, and only 23 total snaps. He also recorded an interception for fumble in the game. But they lost 24-10. Ely became the first player in Super Bowl history to have interception and multiple sacks. He was first player since '93 to record multiple sacks, interception, and a forced fumble in a postseason game. He tied Reggie White and Donnell Darkett for the most sacks in Super Bowl with 3. So he came up. He came up when they needed him most. In 2016, though, Ely only played all 16 games. Only started 6, recorded 32 tackles, 5 sacks, and an interception. He was traded to the Patriots in March 10, 2017, along with a third-round draft pick in the NFL draft, and the Patriots' second-round draft pick. But he was waived 5 months later. The Jets picked him up in the Week 4 win over the Jaguars in 2017. He recorded his second interception after batting down a pass of Blake Bortles. He was again signed with the Cowboys and Raiders as well, but waived. Total regular season, he had 15 sacks, 2 picks, 5 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. But now he's here in the XFL. I don't think it's a bad thing for him to be here. This man was on a Super Bowl NFC winning team. He went to the Super Bowl, and he dominated that Super Bowl. And we know that defense is going to have to be a big deal in the XFL. And I think somebody like Moss in LA or something could see him as a difference maker, and getting him on his team come draft time. So I like that he's there, and I think it's a good pickup. I think it's a good signing. I think it's a lot of people didn't see coming, but I recognize the name. So, the next guy's a name that I ain't heard in years, and that's Robert Meachem. He played his college football at Tennessee. He played for the Saints. He was drafted in the first round of the draft. He also played for the Chargers for a year. This guy was no joke. He's a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 44 for the Saints. First team All-SEC, first team All-American in 2006. He is probably the oldest player that I know of so far that's that's been in a showcase so far. When I seen his name, I was like, wow, Robert Meachem. I ain't heard that in ever. Where has he been? But yeah, he was a good player. I don't think he got enough credit. He had 178 career receptions, 27 touchdowns, had 118 first downs. He has been in trouble before for unpaid child support and stuff like that. In 2018, Meachem was in your college football, so now here he is. And like I said, he was on the Saints twice. He was with the Chargers for a year, and he's a former Super Bowl champion. But he kind of busted for the Chargers because they paid him way too much money than what he was worth. In 2013, though, and 14, he really didn't do much. And he kept trying out. He played for a team called the Richmond Rough Riders in 2018. But here he is in XFL trying to make it back again. And I think he is one of those guys that is trying to get one last hoorah. And I don't mind it. He's a wide receiver. They're going to be important in this league. It's going to be an offensive league. I think he's a guy that can put up some numbers under the right system. If he can find the right coach, I think it could do him wonders. And like I said, I was a big fan of him in college at Tennessee, even though I was a Georgia fan. And I was a big fan of him for the Saints, playing alongside Marcus Colston and some of them guys and winning the Super Bowl. So I think it's a good pickup. The next familiar name is Christine Michael. I believe in a lot of second chances in this league, but this guy's had a good bit of chances even in the NFL. He was drafted. He played his college ball at Texas A&M. He played there for 2009, 2012. He was freshman of the year for the Big 12 Conference. But he started getting hurt in college, and that's kind of where it started. He was selected in the second round, 62nd overall by the Seahawks. He saw limited action as the third running back behind Marshawn Lynch and Robert Turbin. He technically won a Super Bowl with them over the Broncos, Super Bowl 48, and made an appearance in Super Bowl 49 against the Patriots during that time. Michael was traded to the Cowboys on September 6, 2015 after the Seahawks signed Fred Jackson. In exchange for Michael, the Seahawks received a 7th-round pick. The Cowboys added him for depth behind from where DeMarco Murray left. He was inactive the first 3 weeks. Michael played in 5 games as a backup. He was waived to make room for Robert Turbin of the Cowboys. Michael was signed to the Redskins practice squad. He was released in December 2015. He just never got a chance. But he kept signing with teams. He signed with the Seahawks again. When he first came back with the Seahawks, he rushed for a career high 84 yards against the Browns. He also rushed for 102 yards against Arizona 2 weeks later. He started a playoff win against the Vikings. In 2016, Michael signed a 1-year deal with the contract with the Seahawks. He had a career game, 106 yards and 2 touchdowns against 49ers in Week 3 of 2016. On November 15, 2016, Seahawks released Michael, even though he had been their starting running back for 7 of their 10 games. It was due to the return of Thomas Rawls and emergence of C.J. Prosise. Michael was taken off waivers by the Packers in November 16, 2016. He re-signed with them on a 1-year deal worth $800,000, but then he was released a few days later. Like a month later. Then he signed with the Colts, and then he was released again. He just kept getting released. He only started 9 games, had 254 attempts for 1,080 yards, 7 touchdowns. Really didn't do a whole lot. He kept getting cut, released, played good, cut, released. He only had 3 really good games. The rest of them was kind of mediocre. But he's a guy I think could find a chance in a wide open league like this. And I think it's a good signing for the XFL to get as many, I won't say names, but guys that people know. Speaking of running backs people know, Lance Dunbar is next. Lance Dunbar played at University of North Texas. He ended up playing for the Cowboys. Dunbar finished his career in college with many accomplishments at North Texas. He's the leading rusher in school history at 4,224 yards. He's first in career touchdowns with 49. First in all-purpose yards with 5,375. Tied with Patrick Cobbs, where 100-yard rushing games with 21. First in career point score with 294. First in rushing touchdowns with 41. Second in rushing attempts with 782. First running back in school history with 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Second running back in school history with 2 consecutive 1,000-yard rushing seasons. Dunbar is inducted into the North Texas Hall of Fame 2016. Like I said, he played with the Cowboys. He was more kind of like a pass-catching back, but he was also behind Marco Murray a lot and Joseph Randle. So he didn't really get a whole lot of playing time in NFL, but I do remember him. He was kind of like a change of pace back when he was in there. He had 8 receptions for 70 yards in a couple games. He had some big catches. Against the Falcons in 2015, he had a 10-catch, 100-yard game. So that's kind of like where he was coming from. And we were talking about Swiss Army knife running backs is going to be a big thing in the XFL. I could see him being that type of guy. And I could see him being a very useful kick returner, punt returner, ball-catching back for an XFL team. Maybe even Dallas and Bob Stoops. So I think Lance Dunbar is a sneaky player to keep an eye on. I don't think a lot of people noticed that he had a tryout, but I think he's a good person to keep an eye on in the XFL. Next is Tanner Mangum. XFL 2K told me about this guy. He was at the Houston tryout, so he's seen him. And I think he might be a guy to keep an eye on too. He played for BYU. He entered 2017 undisputed starting quarterback. They lost to LSU and Utah in the first 2 games. But he threw over 300 yards in a lot of those games. Threw for 250. He tore his Achilles, though. In his senior year, however, Magnum competed with a highly recruited freshman, Zach Wilson. It was announced that Magnum would be start quarterback. But he kept not doing great. But I think he's a guy to keep an eye on. Like I said, XFL 2K said he was just killing it. At the tryout. He was in a couple bowl games for BYU though. He broke freshman records while he was there. He had 3,377 passing yards with 23 touchdowns, 10 picks that year. He broke, he had a 365 yard passing game against UConn. He won Freshman of the Year by Touchdown Club of Columbus. So, I mean, other than, tearing his Achilles and not having a great senior year, he can put up some numbers. I think he's one of those sneaky guys that could get drafted and beat out a bigger name on an XFL team. The last guy from the Texas Showcase I'm going to talk about is Zach Mettenberger. He did play for the AAF, played for the Titans, Chargers, and Steelers. He was SEC champion with LSU in 2011. I kind of feel bad for him, though. When he was in the Titans, he actually did really good, I thought. He started Jake Locker and Whitehurst for a few times, and I thought they actually had a really good future with him, maybe. If they just kind of built around him, but instead they took, with the number 2 pick in the draft, Marcus Mariota. I remember a lot of the Titans players being upset that they took Mariota because they liked Mettenberger that much. At LSU, he completed 407 passes, for 407 of 659 yards passing for 35 touchdowns, 15 picks. I mean, he's efficient at LSU. Like I said, he was drafted by the Titans in the 6th round. I thought he had a better shot In 2015, due to injuries to Mariota, he played in 7 games. He passed for 935 yards with 4 touchdowns, 7 picks. Also rushed for a touchdown. I mean, I thought he was better than what he really was. I mean, for how he got treated. 2018, Mettenberger signed with the newly formed Alliance of American Football, Memphis Express. In November 27, Mettenberger was drafted by the Express in the 4th round of the 2019 AAF QB draft. He opened the season behind Mettenberger and Brandon Silvers. He really didn't do much, though. Mettenberger replaced the injured reserve on March 18th. Professionally, all-time, including the AAF, he completed 244 of 399 pass attempts for 15 touchdowns, 15 picks. But I think he showed enough in the NFL that he could be a good player with the right coaching staff and stuff. Like I said, a lot of the Titans players I remember was angry when they drafted Mariota because they thought Mettenberger was going to be the guy and they could maybe build on him and use a different pick on him, or on a different pick to help him out. Instead, they took Mariota, and he was kind of never the same after that. I think he has a good shot at making a XFL team, maybe as at least a backup. But I wouldn't. I mean, if a team's gonna build everything else up before quarterback, it wouldn't shock me if Mettenberger beat somebody, maybe be a starting quarterback, kind of like I was talking about Boykin earlier, and even Tanner. There's some good young quarterbacks that's out there, and I think this is one of them. Like I said, he might not be a quality starter, but when somebody gets hurt, he might come in and win the XFL championship for somebody. I think he's that good. I think he could have did that for the Titans as well. Next, I'm going to be talking about some guys from the New York Showcase. The biggest name there was the Keene Knicks. He's one of the only guys so far in the showcases that not only has won a Super Bowl, but was also a first-round draft pick. He played in college. He played in the ACC. Played with North Carolina. He was a stud there. He was a stud in North Carolina. In the 2008 Meineke Car Care Bowl, he caught 8 passes for 217 yards, with 3 of them going for touchdowns of 73, 66, and 25 yards. And one of the catches in the game was a candidate for the greatest catch of the year. At North Carolina, he had 181 catches for 2,840 yards and 21 touchdowns. His longest was 83. He was considered to be one of the top wideouts in the 2009 draft. He drew comparisons to Hines Ward and Anquan Bolden. Butch Davis, who was his coach in North Carolina, even went on to say, compared him to Michael Irvin. The Giants was in need to replace wideout Plaxico Burress, so they selected Knicks in the first round, 29th overall. His career, the Giants, though, he won a Super Bowl with them in 2011. They won the Super Bowl. His career with the Giants, he had 350 catches, 5,081 yards, 31 touchdowns. And then with the Colts, that's with the Colts and with the Giants. He spent 2009, 2013 with the Giants, 2014 with the Colts, and went back to the Giants for a couple of games. He was Super Bowl champion, NFC champion, NFL alumni, wide receiver of the year in 2011. Ranked number 90 out of the top 100 players in 2012. Offensive Rookie of the Month in 2009. Most career receptions in North Carolina history until Ryan Switzer broke it. Most career touchdown receptions in North Carolina history. He's a stud. And a lot of the media was surrounding him at the New York Showcase, since it was kind of a homecoming for him. I could see him being a star in the XFL, especially if he gets under one of these offensive-minded coaches like Stoops or Jones or Tressman. I could see him not only being a good player in the XFL, but maybe an MVP candidate, and maybe a guy that could maybe break back through into the NFL from the XFL. The next guy I'm going to talk about is Buffalo's all-time leading running back, Brandon Oliver. Oliver played his game at the State University of New York at Buffalo. He set the school record for career rushing yards, breaking a record previously held by James Starks. Starks actually had predicted that Oliver would break his record. He ended his career with 4,049 rushing yards and 33 rushing touchdowns. He played for the Chargers. He's kind of like a third down switch army knife kind of guy. He even played for the Salt Lake Stallions in the AAF. He didn't get a whole lot of playing time for the Chargers, but he did have a couple good games here and there. Oliver finished his rookie season with 582 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. But after that, he got hurt. Melvin Gordon got drafted right after that. But he's a guy I could see, again, coming in and being a all kind of jack of all trades kind of a running back, and just showing that he can catch the ball, the backfield and stuff. And I think that's going to be important for the running backs. It's going to be kind of hard, I think, to run the XFL. It's going to be a passing league, and they're going to need running backs to catch the ball. And I think Brandon Oliver is a perfect candidate to do that. Next guy I'm going to talk about is Joe Callahan. He's a small school guy. He went to school at Wesley. He won the Gagliarderi Trophy, which is considered the Heisman Trophy for Division III. He played backup for the Packers. Mike McCarthy loved him. He played backup for Hundley when Aaron Rodgers went down with injury. But when Rodgers came back, they kept cutting him, putting him on injury. They kept cutting him, bringing him on practice squad, cutting him, practice squad, bringing him up, cutting him. He jumped around to the Eagles and Buccaneers, but I think he's one of these small school guys that could be a great quarterback in the XFL. He only had 7 attempts, he had 5 completions on 7 attempts for 11 yards in the NFL. But he's a small school guy. I think he's the type of guy that can come in and just show out, even though normal fans are not going to know who he is. I can see him being the type of guy that comes in from the small school and lighting it up in the XFL. And I think he deserves a chance, considering if somebody like Mike McCarthy likes him, then he's got to be pretty damn good. That's how I look at it anyway. The next guy is one of my personal favorites, and it's Dexter McCluster. He played for Mississippi. He was a stud at Mississippi. He was full of highlights. He set 2 school records against Tennessee for rushing yards in the game with 282 and all-purpose with 324. In his final game at Mississippi, he ran for 148 yards and threw his only collegiate pass of his career in a 25-23 win over then non-ranked LSU. He rushed for 1,169 yards on 181 attempts his senior year and had 44 catches, 520 yards, and 12 total touchdowns. That made him the only player in SEC history to run 4,000 yards and rush for 500 yards in a single season. At Ole Miss, he had 304 carries for 1,955 yards, 15 rushing touchdowns. He had 130 carries on top of that for 1,703 yards and 7 touchdowns. He was projected to go to the second round of the draft, and that's where he went. He went 36 overall to Kansas City. He had the longest punt return in Chiefs history with a 94-yard return. He scored his first rushing touchdown in the NFL in 2011 season, but then he got cut and just kind of jumped around. He played with Argonauts and even the Massachusetts Pirates. Him playing with the Argonauts, I heard he was on the list. He was advertised at XFL to be at the showcase, but he wasn't really on the list. I don't know what was going on with that, so I hope he got to, because I like Dexter McCluster. He's a good punt return guy, kick return guy, exciting player, kind of exciting player XFL needs. Again, another one of those Swiss Army knives kind of running backs. I think they're going to see a lot of in the XFL. The fact that he played for the Argonauts means he's seen by Jones, and he's been seen by Chessman. So I could see him being a force in the XFL if just give him the chance, and hopefully he gets one. I hope all these guys get a chance to. Which, the way I see it, if they're in the showcase, it's not really a tryout; it's just a workout. I think a lot of these guys have already been signed. To be honest with you, the last guy I'm going to talk about from New York is Andre Williams. He was a finalist for the 2013 Heisman Trophy at Boston College, and 2013 Doak Walker Award winner. He was drafted by the Giants in the 4th round 2014 draft. Like I said, he was sensational in college, but he didn't really find a lot of chances in New York. I mean, that happens for a 4th round running back like that. But I could see him again. He was kind of a bigger guy. He's kind of like the sledgehammer. I could see him being like a goal line kind of guy in the XFL. But like say if you're going for a 1-point conversion from the 2, he's gonna be the type of guy you hand the ball to and let him do that. I think he'd be a great player for that kind of thing, and I think we're going to see specials like that in the XFL. So Andre Williams is a guy to keep an eye on. Even the XFL advertised him. He's a big old boy, and I think, like I said, even a 2-point conversion from the 5, hand him the ball and let him just bulldoze it up in there. His career stats in the NFL, he only had 332 attempts for 1,090 yards and 8 touchdowns. And that's as of 2017. He only played like 2 or 3 years in the NFL. But, at Boston College, he was a big deal. Like I said, Heisman Trophy finalist, Doak Campbell Award winner. So I could see him. And he became only the 16th player in NCAA history that rushed for 2,000 yards, and he finished his career ranked 5th all-time in rushing yards in a single season, 2,177. This kid's a stud. He just ain't had a chance yet, and I hope he gets a chance in the XFL on one of the teams. Watch out for Andre Williams in the XFL at running back. The next guy I'm going to talk about is Jacoby Ford. He was a wide receiver and return specialist. He tried out in D.C. He was taken in the 4th round of the 2010 draft by Oakland. He was an accomplished track and field athlete. He played college football at wide receiver and return specialist for Clemson Tigers, where he competed in sprinting events. In the NFL, he was widely regarded as one of the fastest players in the league. He was one of the top 100-meter times by NFL players. This is the kind of guy that I think can take advantage of the kickoff and punt return rules. Like in the kickoff and return rules, he has until, somebody catches it. They have until they catch it for the defense or kicking team can take off. I think he could outrun everybody. That's why I think he's perfect for this league to be a return specialist. He's played in Canada, so, he's been seen by a lot of these coaches. He played in the NFL some, mostly as a kick return guy. He had a 101-yard kickoff for the Raiders against the Browns in 2011. And that's still their record for the Raiders franchise. He only had 57 catches for 848 yards and 3 touchdowns in his career. But I think as a kick returner or a punt returner, I think he'd be perfect for the league. So this guy I was going to talk about would be Jalen Marshall. He played at Ohio State, and he also played for the Orlando Apollos. And he was signed with the Jets, undrafted free agent. But he got busted today for PEDs and got suspended 4 games by the NFL. So I don't know how that's going to work out for the XFL. So I don't know how that's going to kind of hold over. He's one of those guys, wide receiver and kick return. His career in the NFL, and he had 14 catches, 162 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and had 424 return yards. He scored the first ever touchdown in AAF history, though. He's a good wide receiver, but the PED suspension, I don't know how that's going to hold over for the XFL. We're going to have to kind of wait and see on that, or see if what they're going to do about it. This guy is Marquise Williams. He played quarterback at North Carolina. He's played for the Atlanta Legends, San Antonio Commanders, Saskatchewan Rough Riders, Green Bay Packers. In college, he completed 624 of 1,018 attempts for 61 touchdowns, 25 picks. So he was good in college. He was signed as a free agent by the Packers. 2016 cut, signed with the Rough Riders. He also signed the Commanders and stuff. In the AAF with San Antonio, he completed 25 of 34 passing for a touchdown and no picks. So, but this he's a big kid. He did good in college. He's 2-time second-team All-ACC. He had good numbers in college, 61 touchdowns, 25 picks. Pretty good ratio. He had 5 catches, 106 yards, and 3 touchdowns in his college career. So I can see him being a decent, quarterback, for a team in the XFL. A lot of these guys just need a chance to prove that they can do something and prove that they belong in the league. Last guy I'm going to talk about, he also played in the AAF, and that's Dixie Macdougall. He's a name a lot of people heard of. He was picked in the 3rd round by the Jets 2014 draft. He played college at Maryland. He was drafted, like I said, in 2014 draft, but he tore his ACL. And he got waived in 2016. He got traded to the Eagles. He played with the Saints, Jaguars, Lions, Eagles again, and then the Arizona Hot Shots. He had in the NFL 18 tackles and 2 pass deflections. But we're going to need a lot of corners in the league, and this guy was a name. Dixie Macdougall was. He's a guy recognized. We're going to need defense in this league. So why not give a guy a chance that, might have had a good career in the NFL, but he got hurt. And after, once you get hurt the first time, you kind of got that, injury label on you for the rest of your career. So I can see him maybe doing some good work. I mean, he bounced around place to place, but he got signed for a reason. So why not give him a chance in the XFL? So I appreciate y'all listening to some of the names that I locked that was in the Summer Showcase. The next episode I'm going to be doing LA and Seattle. But I want to cover these first 4 and kind of talk about some of the big names. And I think there's some really good names out there for this league. I think there's going to be a whole lot more good players come cut down time come September. The draft's going to be a whole lot of fun, and 2020 is going to be fun as well. Thank you for joining me. Check out XFL Board. Check out XFL2K.com. Check out our Discord page. Join us. Talk to us. Get to know us. And join the community. It's a great community that we're in, and I appreciate it, and good night.